Hello, beautiful souls. Victoria Amador here from Soul Healing Tribe. And today I want to talk to you about the divine feminine. And I know this is a very popular topic now, but I want to go a little deeper into how do we, throughout life, past experiences, may cause damage to the divine feminine, which is why a lot of us are waking up to our intuition, nurturing empath abilities, the ability to do things that may seem supernatural to a lot of people that are just natural within us, but that we just waking up to. The connection to nature and really becoming one with the planet, the collective, ourselves, especially our families, our friends, and being in unity um, with who we are at a sacred soul level, being in unity with our astral body, being in unity with our astral senses, our human senses, even with this physical body, right? So how do we get there since we have lost a lot of these qualities because of what had happened in the past? At least for the last 500-700 years, we have been on a decline that has really taken the feminine energy from what it was to, I mean, even before that, but just for example, the last 500-700 years, with the rise of some religious practices, we have lost a lot of that because, one of the things that one of my dear professors said once was the moment that the sword was invented, that the sword came to existence, whenever that was the moment that there was a key separation for the feminine and the masculine, the male and the female. Because before that, according to him, Dr. Kabuli, he believes that before that, there was such a unity in oneness of both the male and the feminine. If you read a lot of the ancient history, I'm sure that we're going to find a lot of discrepancies with that. But I think his point was that when the masculine started to use tools to achieve something, whether it was agriculture or then later going into war and fighting for land and fighting for people and slavery and this and that, I think we can go on and on that. But his point, I believe it was that when the male realized that there were tools outside of him that he could use to be stronger, to acquire power, to acquire something, the feminine lost some of its power because the male saw the female no longer as the main creator. So the male now could use tools to create by acquiring through force something. In some of the regression sessions that I have done with many of my clients, it's interesting though, because some of those people that have nothing to do with my professors, that have nothing to do with some of these teachings, come to a point where they go to past experiences where they were female and they are in a very abundant, prosperous time, very connected to nature, very in tune with different gifts, natural gifts, supernatural gifts. And then there is a force outside that comes in and takes that. And a lot of that force comes up in a masculine energy through warriors, through different deities, through different aliens, through reptilians, through whatever. But it comes in a masculine heavy force. In one of the sessions that I had with someone that went into Atlantis, it was interesting because she's a female here now, but she was a male in that life when she was in Atlantis. And it was not a pretty life. She was a doctor operating and doing surgeries to create humanoids hybrids, a combination of humans with some of the other DNA structures that they had. And this is someone that did not believe in ETs, did not believe in any of this stuff. And when she was there as a male, doing some of this research and doing some of the procedures to get someone to have super animalistic qualities, they were doing hybrids, animal and half humans, in order for them to create a superior race, apparently. And she mentioned that it was in Atlantis, but it wasn't very clear, even though for her it was. To me, it wasn't very clear, but it doesn't have to be clear to me. It has to be clear to the client. And she died in that experience feeling like she failed, because she knew as a male that something was wrong, and didn't stop anything from happening, didn't stop the process and continue with the process, and then had a lot of guilt. So this is important, because I think one of the things that people say is like, oh my God, whenever you guys do sessions, regression sessions, people always go to happy lives. No, especially when we're doing a lot of the trauma work and a lot of the healing work, we go to lives where there is something to heal. And when there is something to heal, normally there is low vibration emotions that need to be released from the body, from the spirit, soul body, and the physical body, because eventually it makes it to this body. So I don't remember why I started sharing that. Yeah, but when we go into, I remember a session that I did in quantum healing the first year that I was doing quantum healing, and the woman goes into a regression where she's a priestess. She's working with a priest that is like a tutor. And then everything was very pure, very loving, very gentle. And then there comes a gray energy, like a cloud, that encapsulated the whole planet. And it was so heavy. And she also described it as a masculine energy. The reason why I'm sharing this is because it's important for us, when we're going through regression, there are key things that I am doing to get the client to work through the masculine and the feminine. But I also realize that sometimes we have to be a little more clear about why we're doing what we're doing, so the client can really understand the importance of it, because sometimes they have major improvements and they don't realize, wow, I cannot believe I worked through that. And 2-3 weeks later, I start feeling a little different. So the qualities of the divine feminine energy, the nurturing, loving mother, feminine sister sexuality, sensual, intuitive, psychic, such a deep emotional depth of everything that you can think of. It's like, whoa, the divine feminine energy is truly something. It's truly magnificent. And there is so much with the divine, and I want to be clear that the divine feminine is not just in women, it's both in females and male. Just like females also have divine masculine, because there is a balance here. There has to be a balance of energy. So when I'm talking about the divine feminine, I want to make sure that you understand that I'm talking about both male and female, and that I'm talking about the representation of the energy that it represents, the feminine energy that it represents. In another video, I'll do the masculine, but for this video, I want to focus on the divine feminine, those qualities that makes us believe in the things that we may consider at one point that are just supernatural and magical, mystical, mythical, and everything in between, right? So the feminine energy in a male is going to be the same, except that the male might use it a little differently. They might hold back a little bit of that out of fear because of cultural and religious acculturations, right? Perceptions and programming. The masculine may hold back some of that divine feminine energy. Like the males that can wear pink, they're embracing. They have that natural balance within them where they can tap into that feminine energy with specific colors that they use, that they're not afraid to show, regardless of what some people think. And they embrace those colors that are soft and beautiful, and together with their masculine, it just makes them even look more masculine because they're so confident and secure that they're okay with, wearing this beautiful, more feminine color that people might consider feminine color. But I'm not going to get into color therapy or history, but back in the days, there were periods where some of the colors that we use now for the female energy were the ones that were used by the male energy. So anyways, it's interesting to see some males that are able to balance that femininity by using colors, and their self-expression just comes online. It's like, wow, they're so handsome, so beautiful, so confident, whatever. Like we can feel that energy pulling in, because the feminine energy pulls you in. It's like enchanting energy that is going to gravitate. You're going to gravitate naturally to the feminine energy, right? Even when we don't want to, when somebody has a lot of that feminine energy. And I'm not saying sexual, but sexuality is a big part of it, because throughout the different thousands of years, we also have lost a lot of the sensual and sexual energy that has been suppressed, because the female is supposed to be a certain way. The female is supposed to wait for the male to come forward and initiate. The female is supposed to be submissive. The female is supposed to not do certain things when having certain interactions. There are some things that I cannot say because YouTube will take it down, but there are things that the female, even when we want to, we will not do out of fear of the judgment of the masculine in that moment. And not only of the masculine outside of us, but also the masculine within us. How dare you? That is inside us. Like, no, you cannot do that. That's not accepted. And if you do it, you're going to be seen as the B word. So, or the easy word, or the A, right? Like the scarlet letter. So there are things that we may have an urge to do, but we will not do because of the masculine within us that is telling us that is not acceptable. Or the father figure or the mother figure that says, no, that's not okay to do. Even though you're an adult, even though you're out of the house, you're 30, 40, 50, 60, and you're still working through those programming. So I believe that the divine feminine energy has the infinite qualities of the sacred self within us that can bridge the gap between this realm and the next. But let me just go through something so that you can understand where I'm coming from. We mentioned the intuition, the supernatural powers, the creativity. Oh my God, the creativity and expression that we can tap into when the female energy is imbalance is beyond belief. When we have the female imbalance, it's hard to feel like an imposter. So if you have the imposter syndrome, you might want to check that out. The cultural and spiritual attributes, contest, I guess, maybe the right word, that for many cultures, our traditions, the programming from our cultures, our countries, our religion, spiritual practices. When we think of the divine feminine, we tend to think of the different goddesses throughout different cultures, right? Gaia, Kali, Pachamama, the saints. If you are into some spiritual practices where you really are reading a lot, you might identify with some of the priestesses of different cultures that are representative of the divine feminine energy, the goddess energy. And the goddess energy, why though? Because male have no way to reproduce. So the female energy is the creative aspect, the creator, is the one that can create life in this planet. The ultimate creation, right, of life by giving birth to a child. and a male cannot do that. So when we start thinking of the female archetypes, I want you to go beyond the saints, because sometimes we can get trapped in the saints archetype. I need to be a saint, so I cannot be a certain way. I have to be X, Y, and Z. I cannot have a partner. Or there are spiritual practices where some energies that you may be working with will keep you from having a partner, or having a partner that is outside of the spiritual practice or the religion that you're practicing, right? Even though you might be in love with somebody that is outside of it. Oh no, my practice doesn't allow me to do that. So with the female energy to be in alignment, though, there has to be a balance, because the female and the masculine is the yin and the yang. And when we have the balance, we're basically are going to do this video on the feminine, and then we're going to do the masculine, and then we're going to talk about how to unite both of them at a deeper level. So it's not just by talking, by doing something. So when we talk about the balance of the harmony and the balance of the female and the masculine, we're talking about the right and the left, and how we're going to unite them so that they can be in harmony, in synergy, and help each other. Because what happens is the masculine is saying, I need this, I want this from you, but the other one is not listening because they don't get along. And you might have the female and the masculine, that are completely opposite and hate each other and contradict each other, and you have a battle inside of you. So how the female, let me just go back a little bit, because I want to go over how the female energy got disrupted throughout the recent centuries, and I'm sure beyond, but just for the sake of this conversation, I just want you to consider that the female energy, that it gets disrupted, normally happens if you go through past life regression. You will see that a lot of the times the female energy, when it was a healer and it was being called a witch or a black magic worker or the devil, because the female, whether you are male and went through a regression as a female, it doesn't matter. The female energy within us that represents the energy, the feminine energy within us, has been repressed and hurt, haunted for many, many, probably thousands of years. And the reason why is because of the power of creation that we have, that feminine energy has. And because the feminine energy is incarnated in this body, in this physical body as a female, it is an attack against the female body, right? The female person. Same thing for the masculine. The masculine energy is incarnated into a male body. Hence, we have a male body with a private area that represents the male body, and the female has the ability to give birth. So when I'm talking about the energies, we also need to take it into the incarnation process. Now I am here as a female, so I am embracing the divine feminine, but I may be rejecting the divine feminine within me if I don't accept the qualities that represent the feminine energy, my nurturing, intuitive, psychic, empath, loving, creator energy, creativity, sexuality, sensuality, and so on, right? So the female energy can be heavily repressed even in women. It's not just male, it's even in women. We can seriously, especially women, can seriously repress this because of the things that we are told, especially in childhood. When there were things that were, even now, the female is supposed to clean the house, help with this, help with that, but the male doesn't do any of that. In some cultures, the male waits for the food to be served. In some cultures, the female child has to serve the male brother, sister, aunt, uncle, and so on. So it's a server role, submissive role for the most part. And we learn at an early age that the female is not prioritized, that the male is prioritized. And we learn that the female doesn't earn as much as a male for whatever reason, the social title reason, societal reasons, and patriarchy reasons, and gender inequality, and gender roles, and so on, right? So there is a lot of cultural and socioeconomic conditioning that goes on for us to get to the point where we accept those programmings as true, even though we want to fight them. Until we do some of the healing work, we really believe, or coaching, or whatever modality you're going to use to overcome that programming. The key is to overcome the programming, because at a deep level, when we go through the womb regression, we find a lot of wounds that are in regards to the female energy, where the female energy, even inside the womb, because the child is understanding and processing what's happening with the mom, because it's inside the auric field of the mom, receives everything as the child's programming too. So when father is saying you're nothing, the little child inside believes you're nothing. And when you go into the regression and you start asking questions, the person says, my mom, which is a female, is nothing. That's how dad saw her, and he was the one that was in charge. And sometimes even when the mother is the one paying all the bills, the dad that is taking advantage of that, I just had a client like that, the dad that is taking advantage of that still pulls down the female because he wants to feel superior. So even though the female may be the one producing, the breadwinner, producing, taking care of the kids, or having the money because of inheritance or whatever, the masculine is still so aggressive, putting the, and I'm not saying all the males, I'm just talking about how the female energy gets wounded by masculine energies that are suppressing the female, okay? So infancy can reveal to us a lot of the wounds that someone may have in regards to the female, just like the male. And we can work through that with age regression. And when we go through the womb regression, we can also see how the mother, the feminine energy, and the grandmothers, another feminine energy, and the ancestral feminine archetype has been working positive and negative qualities. And the negative qualities, a lot of the time, is suppression of the throat. I cannot speak my truth. I cannot be myself. So there is a lot of throat energy issues, and this is the willpower. So you can imagine what can happen when we suppress the feminine energy, and some of the chakras are directly linked to those wounds. So that you, even though you think that you're sassy and this and that, there is a part of you that believes that you may need a male for whatever reason, because there's wounds that are letting you know unconsciously, you're not enough. You're not a male. So sometimes women may work really hard to prove something to someone, and it comes from the programming. And when they do the healing work, they realize, I am enough. I don't need to prove anything to anyone. So it's a relief of, I don't have to put so much energy to prove anything. I have to do this for myself and myself only. And I don't have to try so hard because I am just what I am. So there is a lot of relief and healing with that, because then the person can use that energy. Instead of using the energy to prove something, the person can use the energy to create something. So there's two ways, even though you're creating on both of them, there are two opposites here. So when you use the energy to create because of all of that that is within you that needs to be expressed, is different than doing something to prove something. One comes with rage, frustration, anger, guilt, and so many low vibration emotions that pull you down, even though you're creating. That doesn't let you become more than that, because you are operating from a low emotional state. And the other one is a creative force that's supercharged. So if you're trying to get to the next level, you might want to look into some of these things, because when we operate from a wholeness state and we create, we supercharge. But when we create by proving something, because I need to prove that I am worthy, that I'm valuable, that I'm loved, that I'm this, that I'm needed, blah, 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 I'm pulling myself down, even though I'm creating, it never goes too far. There is something within me that is missing, something within me that is like a hole, something missing. And that part is a part of myself that I lost during those traumas where I felt that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't creative, that I wasn't wanted, valuable, and so on. So infancy has a huge impact on our divine feminine and masculine energy, as well as the womb regression. What is happening with mom when I'm inside of her that is creating issues within my divine feminine and divine masculine? And then when we go to past life, we can even go deeper with the healers and the different key periods where you go into past lives and you understand how those experiences are still affecting you now and how that feminine energy has been suppressed for hundreds and thousands of years. So besides the cultural programming and the stereotypes and everything that is happening with, femininity, gender roles, cultural programming, conditioning, right? Things that are said in the news, things that are said by professors, even where a professor might say, well, you're a woman, you're not going to be able to be an engineer because you're a woman. This happens all the time, right? Or you're not going to be as good enough as someone else, blah, 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 if you're a mother, because you already have kids that are holding you down. So now we're seeing the kids as, oh, wow, this is pulling me back. This is holding me down. So that's another story for another day. So there is so many different factors that can affect how we see our divine feminine within us and the masculine as well. And we really do suppress a lot of the emotions and sensations and things, but we still have the habits that says, I'm not good enough, I'm not valuable, I have to try hard, because even though I suppress the emotion, the habit is active. And the emotion is in the unconscious, in the subconscious, and the habit is there too. So we do things that we don't even know that we do. And only when you go through something like this, like a healing process, you realize, oh my God, I didn't even realize that that's why I do that. And I didn't even think that I was doing was pushing people away or was not allowing me to open up to true love, to a partner, to have children and so on, because maybe in a past life, my kids were taken from me, or I did something to my child and I was a bad mother, or the father was abusive. Who knows? It could be a million things. So there is a huge disconnection from who we are, our body, our soul, our spirit, as well as who we are with nature, with family, friends, others, collective, and so on. So, but before we even get to the collective and all of that, you really need to start establishing a deep, deep, deep connection and allow yourself to experience nature in such a way that puts you in touch with your root chakra. And the reason why is because when the divine feminine is being disrupted, the root chakra goes through a lot of issues. The sense of self. This happens also for the masculine. So the root chakra is key to align the feminine and the masculine. So if we have issues with the root chakra, we're going to have issues with feeling like really disconnected from self, from nature, and others. So if you start grounding and you start listening to sounds that can help you balance the root chakra and start working on healing the root chakra, it's going to be amazing. Also, the feminine energy gets disrupted because of spiritual imbalances. And what I mean is spiritual imbalances where there is such an emphasis on achieving, having, and doing that we forget to be in the moment. So there is a lot of disconnection there because we forget to be in the moment. So when we start balancing the actions, achievements, having with being and embracing and feeling and really saying hi to both of these parts, we're going to be more in balance with who we are at a deeper level, where we can start working from the heart space and really understand that sometimes the actions and achievement are towards something that we don't really want, but we don't stop to really figure out what is it that I'm getting when I do all these things. Because when we both need the feminine and the masculine. When the feminine is saying, I feel and I can sense it, the masculine has to also say, okay, so it's going to give us like a checkpoint. But when the checkpoint and the actions and the achievements, the power, the whatever it is that you're wanting is so strong, it's going to overtake this part and it's going to fight against it. So neglecting the feminine energy is going to lead you to a path of a lot of perhaps material things, but it's not going to lead you to a path of inner wisdom. So we really need to work on aligning both. Talk a little bit about how can we embrace and rebalance. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you're already working on becoming a little more aware and educated about, okay, why is this important? Why do I need to align the feminine and the masculine? What are the values and how is life experienced through the feminine? Have you ever asked yourself that? A lot of people might say, I don't have any issues with the feminine energy, but ask yourself, the woman in your life, your mother, your grandmother, your aunts, even your children, if you have daughters, nieces, friends, what are their positive quality and what are their negative qualities? And list at least three to five things. And once you have those qualities, pay attention to the negative qualities and notice how those negative qualities may be reflecting back to you that there is something here for you, that there is something for you to become aware of. And even the positive qualities that you admire may also give you a hint on the qualities that you desire that you don't have now. For example, some of my cousins that are very sensual and sassy, those are qualities that I really don't have. Not like that anymore. I did once, right? Not anymore. So how can I embrace a little bit of that energy of like feeling sensual, feeling sassy? So what qualities are positive that you feel like you don't have but you desire? And what qualities are negative that you may be noticing them because they may be asking you to reflect on something about your life? They might be triggering you in a way to ask you to work through something. So another way that you could do that is by, okay, identify the positive qualities and the negative qualities, and now ask, where did I get those qualities, especially the negative qualities or the positive quality and the positive qualities? Where did I get those assumptions from? Oh, I got it from my grandmother. I got it from my father. Notice where they came from, or the news or a friend, and then be curious. Is it truth? Is this truth? Is this assumption that I have made true? Because a lot of times we make assumptions that are not true. We think they're true, but they're not true. And then notice that there is a specific judgment that you've made based on doing this little exercise. What is the judgment that you've made against the feminine energy? And that's going to give you a huge clue about what qualities within your feminine energy are in need of balance, rebalance, harmony. Embracing the feminine energy takes a lot of courage because we have to be willing to express who we are. You know how hard that is to express who we are? And when you're going through the spiritual awakening and you're tapping into another part of you that you didn't know existed, and you're feeling like the old you is leaving, and you're fighting to clutch onto the old versions of who you were, the roles that you play, and you're like, I don't even know how to tell my family that that's not me anymore. This is very traumatic. Imagine what somebody that is bisexual, lesbian, goes through when they have to share that they're not the little girl, the little boy, or the teenager at whatever age they are, normally adult. I'm not, yes, I'm a male in this body, but I am not a male. I feel, or I I am a male, but I am in love and I want to be with another male, or I'm female, but I want to be with another female. Those are very hard conversations to have, even with people that you know love you, because there is this feeling, once I tell them I'm going to lose them, they're not going to love me. They're not going to respect me. They're not going to want me. So I'm not going to belong. I'm not going to be accepted. Same thing happens when we start embracing the divine feminine, or when we're going through a spiritual awakening and we're realizing who we don't want to be anymore, that we are tapping into another deeper version of who we are. And most people around us have no clue what we're going through. So it is hard to put it into words because we don't think they're going to understand. And if you start saying some of the things that you're experiencing, they might think you're crazy. They might think like you're losing it. They might think, oh my God, are you in a cult? What are you reading? Do we need medicine? Their version of you is going to fall down. It's going to fall apart. So it's very hard to tell someone, I know who I was in college. Even with people that we don't care for, there's still this like, do I say it? Do I, there is a yuckiness because it's different. So we are embracing a part of us that is coming online, that is always there, but we repress so heavily due to all the programming and the traumas and the experiences, so that we feel like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm going to be able to tell my parents that I know who I was and that I don't want to be that person anymore, or that I am changing. And embracing your feminine energy takes so much effort because you have to reparent yourself, and you have to have compassion and love and empathy for yourself and for others. So it's a whole process. And the key is that when you are a certain way and then you start changing, people around you don't know how to react around you. So it's scary for them. They feel like they have lost someone until they get used to the new one. So it's hard. It's not an easy one, but it is worth every second. We cannot embrace a full spiritual awakening without really awakening the feminine energy within us to be in balance with the masculine. We need both. So I'm going to leave it here. This was longer than I expected, but I hope you got something beautiful out from this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much. Thank you.